Stop! You haven't subscribed to the channel yet? Subscribe now. We have new stories every day. Now, let's go. When I arrived home earlier than expected, I found my wife in bed with another man. The shock hit me like a freight train. Without thinking, I yanked him out of the bed and threw him out of my house, barely giving him time to grab his pants. My wife, the woman I'd loved since we were kids, stood there wrapped in a sheet, tears streaming down her face. I couldn't even look at her. I told her to get out and take her betrayal with her. Let me back up a bit. Chapter 1. Childhood Sweethearts. Me and Lisa met when we were around 10 years old. We grew up in the same neighborhood, a quiet suburb with tree-lined streets and white picket fences. Our parents were friends, so naturally we spent a lot of time together. I still remember the first time I held her hand at the local fair. We were 13, and she had just beaten me at the ring toss. By the time we were in high school, we were inseparable. At 21, on a chilly Valentine's Day weekend getaway to a cabin in the mountains, I proposed to her. Snowflakes danced outside as we sat by the fireplace. She said yes, her eyes sparkling brighter than the diamond ring I slid onto her finger. It was perfect. The kind of moment you see in movies. We built a life together over the years. Both of us landed respectable jobs. She became a graphic designer, and I started my own business with my cousin Mike. Our company, a small tech startup, took off faster than we could have imagined. We bought a nice, well-kept home with a spacious yard, perfect for the kids we planned to have someday. Our circle of friends was tight-knit, and our families got along wonderfully. Everything was perfect in my mind. Chapter 2. The First Cracks. A few weeks ago, I noticed Lisa had been more attached to her phone than usual. One evening, while she was in the shower, her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. A message preview popped up. I had a great time chatting today. Curiosity got the better of me. I unlocked her phone. It wasn't the first time. We never hid things from each other. The text thread was with a guy named Ryan from her office. Their conversation wasn't explicitly flirty, but it felt off. She'd text things like, "Work was so stressful today," and he'd respond, "You deserve to unwind. Maybe we can relax together sometime." Innocent enough on the surface, but my gut told me there was more. That night, I confronted her. "Who's Ryan?" I asked casually as we sat down for dinner. She looked up, surprised. "Oh, he's just a colleague. We've been working on a project together. Are you sure that's all?" I pressed, trying to keep my tone even. She hesitated for a moment. "Yes, of course. Why?" I told her I'd seen the messages. Her face flushed. "You went through my phone." It was buzzing nonstop. I thought it might be important. She sighed, pushing her plate away. "Look, it's nothing. Just friendly banter. Friendly banter or something more." I felt a surge of anger rising but tried to suppress it. "I want you to block him." "You're overreacting," she retorted, crossing her arms. "Maybe I am, but it would make me feel better." After a tense silence, she agreed. Right there, she blocked his number, and even showed me for good measure. I wanted to believe that was the end of it. Chapter 3. The Unwelcome Surprise. That brings me to Sunday night. Mike and I were swamped with a new project deadline looming. Our startup was growing, but with growth came more work. Sometimes, I'd sleep at the office when the workload piled up. Our loft office had a makeshift bedroom for such nights. Around noon, I texted Lisa, "Hey, we might be pulling an all-nighter. Don't wait up for me. Love you." She replied quickly, "That's a shame. I was hoping we'd watch that new movie tonight. Be safe, and I love you too." By 6 p.m., I was drained. Mike looked over from his desk. "You should go home, man. You've been at this for hours." "Yeah, I think I will," I agreed, stretching. Lisa sounded disappointed earlier. I picked up some takeout on the way, a peace offering for cutting our evening short the past few days. As I pulled into our driveway, I noticed a car parked a little way down the street. Didn't think much of it. Probably a neighbor's guest. The house was dimly lit, a soft glow coming from the upstairs bedroom window. Odd, I thought. Lisa usually waited for me downstairs if she knew I was coming home. I unlocked the front door quietly, intending to surprise her. As I stepped inside, I heard muffled voices and laughter. My heart began to pound. I ascended the stairs slowly, each creak of the wooden steps echoing loudly in my ears. At the bedroom door, I could hear them clearly. "You're so bad," Lisa giggled. "Only for you," a male voice responded. My hand clenched around the doorknob. I swung the door open to find Lisa in bed with Ryan. Time seemed to slow. The takeout bag dropped from my hand, the container spilling across the hallway floor. "What the hell is this?" I shouted, my voice barely recognizable. They scrambled. Ryan grabbed for his clothes. Rage overtook me. I lunged at him, landing a solid punch to his jaw. He stumbled backward, crashing into the dresser. He tried to shield himself, babbling apologies. Lisa screamed, "Stop it. You're going to kill him." I didn't care. All the love, trust, and memories evaporated in that moment. I grabbed Ryan by the collar, dragging him towards the door. "Get out of my house." I bellowed, shoving him into the hallway. He tripped over the spilled food, desperately trying to pull on his pants. "Please, man, I'm sorry," he pleaded. I picked up his shoes and threw them after him. "Don't ever come near me or my wife again." He bolted down the stairs and out the front door, barefoot and shirtless. I turned back to Lisa, who was sobbing uncontrollably, wrapped in a sheet. "How could you?" I asked, my voice shaking. "It was a mistake," she cried. "I didn't mean for this to happen." "A mistake? You don't accidentally end up in bed with someone." She reached out to touch my arm. I recoiled. "Don't. Just don't." "I love you," she whispered. I laughed bitterly. "You have a funny way of showing it." Chapter 4. The Aftermath. I couldn't stay in that house. Everywhere I looked, I saw reminders of our life together, now tainted. I grabbed my keys and headed back to the office. Sleep was impossible. Mike found me staring blankly at my computer screen the next morning. "Whoa, you look like hell," he said, handing me a coffee. "What happened?" I told him everything. By the end, he was pacing the room, cursing under his breath. "You need to see a lawyer," he advised. "Yeah, I know." I called Lisa's father that afternoon. He'd always treated me like a son. When I told him what happened, there was a long silence. "I'm so sorry," he finally said. "I don't know what to say." "Me neither. My wife and I will talk to her. Just know we're here for you." Over the next few days, Lisa's friends bombarded me with messages, urging me to forgive her, to give her another chance. I ignored them all. I went back to the house when I knew Lisa wouldn't be there. I couldn't bear to see her. I packed up her clothes, her personal items, and left them in boxes on the porch. I took down our wedding photos, the vacation snapshots, all the mementos of a life that no longer existed. One night, I found myself scrolling through old messages on my phone. There was a group photo from last year's Christmas party. In it, Lisa and I stood arm in arm, smiling without a care in the world. I deleted it. Chapter 5. A New Beginning. A week later, I met with a divorce attorney. As we went over the details, he asked, "Any shared assets?" "Just the house," I replied, "and my business, but I started that before we were married." "Protect your interests," he advised. "These things can get messy." I decided to temporarily sign over my share of the business to Mike until the divorce was finalized. I didn't want Lisa getting her hands on it. One evening, I had an idea. I knew Ryan was married. I remembered Lisa mentioning it offhand months ago. I found his wife, Amanda, on social media. Her profile picture was of them on their wedding day, looking blissfully happy. I hesitated but felt she deserved to know. I sent her a message. "I'm sorry to tell you this, but your husband has been having an affair with my wife." She responded quickly. "Is this some kind of joke?" I sent her the doorbell camera footage. Ryan entering my house and then fleeing, half-dressed. Her reply was heartbreaking. "Thank you for telling me." Chapter 6. The Unexpected Friend. My mother insisted I attend her company's holiday party. "You need to get out of that office and live a little," she urged. Reluctantly, I agreed. The venue was a lavish hotel ballroom, decorated in gold and silver for the season. I wandered around, making small talk with her coworkers. That's when I met Sarah. Your mom talks about you all the time, she said, extending her hand. I'm Sarah, by the way. All good things, I hope, I replied with a slight smile. We spent the evening chatting. She was smart, funny, and had a contagious enthusiasm for life. For the first time in weeks, I felt the weight on my shoulders lighten. I'm not looking for anything serious, I admitted as the night wound down. She nodded. Neither am I, but maybe we can be friends. I'd like that. Chapter 7. Moving Forward. Christmas Day arrived, and with it, a sense of melancholy. Lisa had always loved the holidays. Our house used to be the most decorated on the block. Now, it felt empty. My family gathered at my parents' place. There was warmth, laughter, the smell of turkey roasting in the oven. I was grateful to be surrounded by people who cared about me. How are you holding up? My dad asked, handing me a glass of eggnog. I'm okay, I said, and for the first time, I meant it. Over the next few weeks, Sarah and I hung out more. We went to concerts, tried out new restaurants, even went hiking, a hobby I'd neglected. She wasn't a replacement for Lisa, but she was helping me rediscover parts of myself I'd forgotten. Chapter 8. Closure. One afternoon, I received a letter from Lisa. I hesitated before opening it. Asterisk, Dear Jack, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I needed to say this. I'm sorry for everything. I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know that hurting you is my biggest regret. I've moved out of the house. The divorce papers are signed. I won't contest anything. I hope one day you can find it in your heart to remember the good times we had. Sincerely, Lisa Asterisk. I folded the letter and set it aside. There was a time when her words would have torn me apart, but now they felt like a chapter closing.